There's something quietly poetic about taking a raw, irregular tree branch and turning it into a shelf. It feels like a small rebellion against the sleek, perfect lines of factory-made furniture. Instead of shaving the world down to match a blueprint, you let the wildness in. You let the curve, the knot, the twist, the bark, all of it stay. And in that staying, in that refusal to smooth out the natural form, you invite something organic, calming, and almost ancient into your space. Tree branch shelves aren't just practical, they're grounding. They remind you that nature doesn't work in right angles. It grows, it bends, it adapts. And when you hang a shelf supported by something that once swayed in the wind, you bring a piece of that rhythm indoors. It usually starts with a walk, out in the woods, or maybe just at the edge of a yard, where fallen branches lay half hidden in the grass. You're not looking for perfection. You're looking for character. A split limb that arcs in just the right way. A crooked piece that forks into two like an open arm. Something with weight and irregularity. Something that still looks like it belongs to the tree it came from. Sometimes the bark is still intact, clinging in rough patches. Other times, it's stripped away, leaving behind smooth, pale wood that catches the light. You lift it, turn it over, examine the grain. You look at the knots, the scars, the subtle bends that tell you how it grew, how it twisted toward light, how it held leaves once, or perhaps cradled snow. This is your material, unmilled, untamed, back in the workshop. It's not about reshaping the branch into something else. It's about letting it become what it already wants to be. Maybe it's sanded lightly, just enough to take away splinters, but not so much that it loses its texture. Or maybe you preserve the bark, sealing it with oil to darken its tone and protect it from flaking. The branch becomes a bracket, a beam, a frame. And how it supports the shelf is up to you. It might run vertically from floor to ceiling, bolted at both ends, holding up a wooden plank like a tree holds a nest. Or it might be chopped into smaller sections, angled diagonally beneath the shelf, like a tree limb growing from a trunk. The placement isn't always symmetrical. That's part of the charm. You want the branch to dictate its own angle. Let it point where it wants to. The shelf itself might be a rough-sawn board, maybe reclaimed, full of character. You don't pair a tree branch with laminate. You give it something equally real, something with grain and weight. Maple, walnut, cherry, even old pine with nail holes and scars. Together, the board and the branch form a conversation between structure and support, between straight and crooked, between human-made and nature-grown. And as you build, you start to notice the little details that make tree branch shelves so different from standard shelving. There's a balance you have to feel out. Not just weight distribution, but visual balance. A thick, heavy branch might need a lighter shelf. A delicate forked limb might support a smaller display. You're not engineering in the traditional sense. You're composing, sculpting, making decisions based on feel as much as form. When the shelf is finally mounted, it doesn't just hold things. It changes the space around it. There's an unexpected elegance in how it refuses to be clean-lined or symmetrical. It doesn't try to blend in with the drywall or the paint. It draws the eye with its curve, its shadows, its textures. A bend in the wood might cast a soft line across the wall at sunset. The branch might extend slightly past the shelf, almost like a finger pointing into the room. And on that shelf, books, ceramics, plants, whatever you place, everything seems just a little more alive, because the shelf itself is alive. Or at least it used to be. People will ask if you made it yourself. They'll reach out and touch it, like they're trying to make sure it's real. There's something primal in that, something that bypasses design trends and goes straight to instinct. We respond to wood because we come from the same world. We trust it. We know its smell, its texture, its warmth. A branch isn't just a piece of wood. It's a memory of seasons, of trees swaying in the wind, of forests that feel endless. Some shelves use multiple branches, maybe 3 or 4, spaced unevenly along the wall. One twisted, one straight, one pale, one dark. They don't match, but they don't need to. That's the point. The shelf becomes a collage of natural elements. A sculptural installation that also happens to hold your favorite mug, or a trailing vine, or a stack of old novels. And the branches, though silent, tell stories of where they came from, of what they endured. Over time, these shelves age with the room. The wood might darken slightly. The branch may crack a little more, or shift with the temperature. But it doesn't deteriorate, it evolves, just like the tree it came from. And as the space changes, furniture swapped, walls painted, items rearranged, the branch shelf remains an anchor. A subtle reminder that not everything needs to be refined, new, or polished. Some things are better left raw, better left true. There's also freedom in the building process. Tree branch shelves don't follow rules. They invite improvisation. One builder might drill a branch directly into the wall studs, then set a board across the top with no fasteners at all, just gravity holding it in place. Another might suspend a branch from the ceiling using rope or wire, letting the shelf hang like a floating platform. Some attach branches to the front edge of the shelf, not for support, but for design, like a decorative tree limb reaching forward from the wall. It's all valid, as long as the grain is real, the idea is rooted. In rustic homes, tree branch shelves feel right at home, next to stone fireplaces, woven rugs, and windows that let the light spill in across wood floors. But they also work in more modern spaces. In a room of white walls and clean surfaces, a single branch shelf can break the sterility without overwhelming it. It adds depth, texture, life, and it makes the space feel curated, not just styled, personal, not just decorated. There's also something meditative about crafting them, about spending time with a piece of wood that once reached for the sky. You find yourself wondering where it grew, how tall the tree was, whether birds perched on it, whether wind twisted it, whether anyone ever noticed it before it fell. And now here it is, in your hands, becoming something new, not discarded, not wasted, transformed. You realize that it's not just about utility. It's about connection, to place, to process, to something slower than the speed we're used to living at. And in that stillness, in that attention to shape and form and shadow, you remember what it means to really see something, to appreciate the curve of a branch not as a flaw, but as a feature, not as an obstacle, but as a guide. Tree branch shelves are humble. They don't try to compete with high-end cabinetry or sleek floating shelves. They're not engineered to impress. They're crafted to endure, to evoke, to remind. And they do. Every time you pass one, you get a glimpse of the woods, a memory of walking through fallen leaves, of the sound of wind through trees, of the hush of a forest floor. That's what they carry. That's what they bring in. And that's why they matter. Because in a world of straight lines and fast fixes, a branch shelf says, slow down. Look closer. Grow crooked if you must, but grow. And if that's not art, what is? There's something honest about using branches as shelves. Not milled lumber, not squared stock, just branches, raw, irregular, imperfect. And yet, when you mount them to a wall, something changes. What used to be underfoot, scattered on the ground, now becomes part of the room. Lifted, framed, functional. You don't shape the branch to match the shelf. You shape the shelf to follow the branch. That's the difference. This kind of work isn't about imposing straight lines. It's about working with what nature already built. You find a piece with just enough angle, just enough curve, and instead of cutting it down to size, you ask, where does this want to go? The best ones come from fallen limbs, weathered, cracked, bark clinging in some spots, missing in others. You send just enough to knock off the rough edge, but not so much that you erase the history. And that's the line you walk with branch work, leaving the tree's personality intact while making it serve a new purpose. Mounting takes patience. You can't just slap screws through and call it done. These shapes aren't flat. They're not built to sit against drywall. You have to carve the contact points, shim what needs it, find the exact orientation where the whole thing feels like it grew out of the wall, not just stuck to it. Every mounting bracket gets hidden. Every join has to disappear. You're not forcing the wood to look man-made. You're helping the man-made blend back into the wood. And when the shelf goes on, whether it's a clean-cut board riding the branch like a beam, or a slice of slab that follows the grain in its own way, you don't need decoration. The support is the art. That's what makes these pieces stand out. Most shelves fade into the background. These command attention without asking for it. Not because they're flashy, because they're rooted. Sometimes the whole piece is just a branch, hung horizontal, no shelf on top at all, just hooks underneath, a place to hang keys, mugs, tools, light coats. And it works, because it doesn't try to be more than it is. The branch tells the story. The utility's just bonus. Other times you go big. 3, 4 limbs arranged into a vertical rack, each one holding a slab. Each slab tilted slightly differently. It won't be square. That's the point. You're breaking the grid, letting the lines of the forest interrupt the lines of the house. And somehow, the room breathes better because of it. It works in clean spaces, against white walls, with polished floors. The contrast becomes part of the effect. Rough wood, refined setting. It doesn't clash, it balances, like a deep breath in a sterile room. And the best part? These pieces aren't expensive. You don't need rare materials. You just need to look at that pile of windfall differently. What's twisted and lopsided on the forest floor might be exactly what your wall is missing. A little curve, a little texture, a little break from perfection. You don't overfinish these. You oil them, maybe wax them. Sometimes just leave them raw, especially if they're dry and stable. If you try to make it glossy and smooth, you miss the point. It's supposed to feel found, not bought, and that feeling sticks. Every time you walk past one of these branch shelves, you feel it, even without looking. The texture catches your eye. The angles pull your attention. There's something grounding about it, like the wall itself is remembering where it came from. In a world full of straight lines, branch shelves bring back the curve. Not decorative, not artificial. Real wood, real shape, real time.